Alright, so got done late last night putting in the RoadsterSport springs. So let's look at them. So there they are. So they fill it. So basically they make the gap all uniform. All the way around it looks pretty uniform. Stock. This part right here was a little bit, the gap right there was bigger than the sides. So that's good there. With the rear, same thing with the rear. It's nice and uniform. So that looks good there as well. Oops. So same thing with this side. Nice and uniform. And pretty much this side too. I think this side the gap looks a little bit bigger because where I'm parked, it's not completely flat. So let's check the gap, right? The wheel gap. Not the wheel gap. I mean the center to the fender. So about center right there. This one shows 14 and 3/16. 14 and 3/16. So stock was what? Stock was I think 14 and 3/4. I think 14 and 3/16. Go to this side. This one is 14 even. 14 and 1/16. 14 and 1/16. So I think last time when I measured the stock one, the passenger side was actually also a little bit higher than the driver's side as well. This one is 14 and an eighth. 14 and an eighth. So I think the stock on the back they were 14 and a half. Actually, almost all of them were 14 and a half, I think, except for the passenger front. That one was I think 14 and 3/4 or something like that. Maybe a bit taller. This one is 14 and a 16th, looks like. Yeah, 14 and a 16th. So yeah, so basically lost about half an inch off so far. And I mean I only have 40. So I just took it on a mountain ride up and down my test track, up and down twice. So it was like altogether it was I think about 40 miles, 50 miles that I drove. Probably about 50 miles. So as far as feel goes, at slower speeds, it's definitely, I can definitely feel it firmer. Where it's less comfortable, it's more bumpy. At slower speeds, usually basically below 30, it's bumpier. When you get to like 40 and above, that's when it's actually smoother. Smoother than before, but that's 40 and above. And between 30 and 40, it feels about the same. So below 30, it definitely feels bumpier. It feels like it leans less. How it sways, leans. It feels a little feels like it's a little flatter. Um, let's see what else. Steering feels firmer too. I'm not sure because the alignment's off now. The alignment's probably screwed up because you get alignment after once it settles once the suspension settles and such. So that'll take about 500 miles. Then I could revisit how the steering feels. But right now, as it is, the steering feels firmer than it did before. It feels like a little bit more resistance. It's a little sportier. The first like 3 or 4 or 5 miles, it felt really rough, really firm, really bumpy. I was like, whoa, this is like really firm and really bumpy. But by the time I got to about 20 or 30 miles, it felt fine. That could be because it's the suspension is kind of settling in a little bit. Those first few miles takes a little few miles to settle in. Let's see what else about these springs. It's the transitions from a left to right transitions. Stock suspension when you do quick left to right, or right to left. One direction and the other direction. You go one direction, the other direction. It kind of flops a little bit. When you do the first direction, it doesn't. As you go back to the other, go one direction, it doesn't really flop. But when you go back, when you transition back real quick, one then the other, then it flops. This one, it's the flopping is almost gone. It's a little bit, it's slightly there, but it's almost gone. It's hardly noticeable. So I have some sway bars. I'm not sure if I want to put sway bar on now because it feels really well. It's like even though it's firmer, when I go over the bumps, whichever side that I went over the bump, I don't feel it on the other side. So that's a good thing. So if I put the sway bars on, I might, if you go over bump on one side, you might feel the bump on the other side as well because the sway bars, once you get stiffer sway bars, they connect the two wheels even more. So the way it is right now, it feels really good. I might just put, I already got the sway bars, so I might just put them on and see how I like them. If it's like too bumpy or too stiff, then I might I'll put the stock one back in, or I might get some that are a little bit less stiff, a little bit more street friendly, basically. So the sway bars I have are the Racing Beats. We'll see how those goes. So I'll probably put that on either later today or tomorrow. Let me see what else with this new suspension setup. Clearance wise, it feels fine. It only dropped down half an inch or so, but you also remember that since it's firmer, when you hit bumps and stuff, it doesn't squat down as much. I don't think. So I think it's possible that the clearance might be a little bit better, going over bumps, just because it doesn't squat down as much because the springs are firmer than the stock springs. What else could I think about this thing? So I think that's it for now on how it feels. So by the end of towards the end of the 50 miles, it started to feel. I started to kind of get used to it, and it felt almost at home with it. So that was a pretty quick. Getting used to it was pretty quick. So far so good. All right, thanks for watching.